Hello, my bomb blowers and module masters, and today I am here with another Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes modded module tutorial, and today I am here with the module Silent Simon. Silent Simon is a number puzzle where you have to find the value of the four colored buttons while following some strict criteria. Let's go ahead and get started. This module does not require any edge work, so as soon as we get our bomb, we can get started on defusing the module. So, a Silent Simon module has a decibel reader. This measures the current loudness of Simon, as Simon has gone deaf after the factory explosion of 96. And he can't keep track of his volume level, so we're going to have to check it for him. The four colored buttons all have numbers associated with them. If we press the white button and then any of the colored buttons, then we're going to add the number associated with the button to the decibel value. So if yellow's value was 5, we clicked white and then yellow, then 5 would be added to the display to get us a decibel value of 67. If we pressed the black button and then a colored button, instead what would happen is that 5 would be taken away from the display value. So if we click the black button, then the yellow button, then the decibel display would read 57. Additionally, you may not press the same colored button twice in a row. If you do this, this will get a strike. So there are some restrictions on the numbers that the buttons can have. One button will be from 1 to 3, and these are integer values. The decimal point has honestly no significance at all in this module. 2 buttons will have numerical values from 4 to 9, and 1 button will have a numerical value from 10 to 15. There will also be no duplicated value. Additionally, when I press a button, the 1 digit of the display will be hidden. Every 5th valid input, the display will show both digits as such. Every 10th valid input, the 1 digit will appear as such. So, once we figure out the values of each of the 4 colored buttons, we're going to press the middle button, and the number 0 will appear on all the buttons. Now, do note, if we press the same colored button at this point as the last colored button we pressed, we are going to strike. I think it was this one, so let's show it off real quick. It wasn't that one, but if it was, then it would have struck. What we're going to have to do is, when the white button is pressed, it's going to add 1 to the value of the colored button. And when the black button is pressed, it takes away 1 from the value of the colored button. We're going to have to get the numbers on the buttons to display the values of the buttons without pressing the same button twice in a row, and then press the gray button to submit the value on the display. So now that I've described the mechanics of the module, let's go ahead and get down to solving one. I'm going to write down the starting number as 66. Now, if I press the black button and then 2 colored buttons, I have subtracted a certain number from 66, and that number is the value of the yellow and the red button. Now, if I press the white button and then the same 2 buttons, I have added the same number to the decibel display, meaning I have added and subtracted the same number from 66. At this point, I know for a fact that even though I can't see the 1's digit, I am currently at 66 decibels. Meaning if I press the black button and then the yellow button, the value of the yellow button is going to be 66 minus the new display. The new display is 54, meaning the value of the yellow button is 12. Okay, so now that we've gotten that, we need to get the values of the red, green, and blue buttons. So The next thing we're going to do is get the display to the 10th valid input when the ones digit of the decibel will be shown. It does not matter how you do this, just put 5 inputs into the module until the ones digit is displayed. And we get something 9. We don't know if it's 49, 59, or 69. So now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to add a value from 2 buttons, and then take away the value from 2 buttons. And we know that the tens digit of that number was a 5, because this is the same decibel reading as the display 4 button presses ago, since I have added the same number and subtracted the same number. We know from 4 displays ago that the ones digit was a 9, and we know from this display that the tens digit is a 5. Combining the information, it gives us the result that our current display is 59. So if I press the black button, then the difference between 59 and the new display is going to be the red button's value. 59 minus 54 is 5. We're going to use the same process to get the values of the green and the blue button, all the while being careful not to press the same colored button twice in a row. This is the most strike-prone part of the module, and it is pretty strike-prone, pressing the same colored button twice in a row. So let's get to the only ones digit showing by just pressing some random buttons. We know that it is something 2. Now, let's add and subtract the value of 2 buttons. And we know that the tens digit of that display is 4. So, 42. I'm going to use the white button this time. We know that the difference between 42 and the new display is going to be the value of the green button. So we had 42, we added 3, and then we got 45. So now we know the green button's value is 3. We do this process one more time to get the value of the blue button. So once again, put 5 valid inputs until the ones digit shows back up on the display. It is an 8. Now we're going to add and subtract the same value. And we get the ones digit as a 4. The tens digit even. So, once I press the white button, the difference between 48 and the new display is going to be the value of the blue button. 54 minus 48 is 6, so we know that the blue button's value is 6. Now that we have all of the information of all 4 buttons, we can go into submit mode. Now, if we pressed the blue button right now, we would get a strike, because the blue button is the last colored button that we have pressed. So, knowing that we can't press the same button twice in a row, how do we go about setting the values of the buttons? My strategy for this is to start at the highest valued button, and then just set the other buttons until they're at what they're at. Now, we're going to keep doing this until we either reach the value of the first button, or the other 3 buttons reach their values. So let's do this. The red button has 5, which is its value, meaning we're done adding 1 to the red button, now we move on to the green button. The green button is now 3, so we're done with this button, let's move on to the blue button until it reaches 6. Now, 12, 5, and 3 are the values of the first 3 buttons. But the blue button is still at 4. It needs 2 more. So we're going to put 2 buffer inputs into the module. The buffer inputs were the red input and the green input. We had to do this so that pressing the blue button would not strike. So now the blue button is set to where it needs to be, but the red and green button are both 1 over. We're going to subtract 1 from the red and green button. And now they're at 5 and 3, they're at their values, the other two buttons are at their values, and when we press the gray button again, the module solves and plays a neat little solve animation. Let's do the other one on the bomb as another example. We once again start at 66, but it is very unlikely that we are going to get our same exact values. So I'm going to actually put them blue, green, red, and yellow this time, so we can use colors instead of numbers for labeling. The start is 66. Now we're going to subtract the value of two buttons and add the value of those two buttons again to get back to 66. So we know for a fact we're at 66 right now. Meaning pressing the blue button right now, since the last black or white button I pressed was black, is going to subtract the blue button's value from 66. So, 66 minus 61 is 5, meaning the blue button has a value of 5. Now you may have also noticed that pressing each of the colored buttons had a different volume level played, and the segment would make a noise related to its volume level. This is corresponding to their range of values. So the one that plays 1 to 3 will be relatively quiet, the two that play 4 to 9 will be mildly loud, and then the 10 to 15 will be very loud. This isn't necessary to solve the module, but it does help. Anyway, now we're going to press 5 buttons. And we know that we're at something 9. Now, we're going to press some more buttons. Actually, we're going to press the same 2 buttons in a row. And we know that we're at 59, because we just subtracted the sum of the blue and yellow buttons, and then added the sum of the blue and yellow buttons. So when I press the black button, and then the green button, we're going to take away the value of the green button from 59. And it is 3. Now, we press 5 more buttons to get back to the ones display. And it is something 3. Now, we're going to subtract the value of 2 buttons. Oh, that was adding, because the display went up from 5 to 6. So we're going to subtract this time. And now we know that we're at 53. So 53 minus the red button's value is going to be the new display. 53 minus 43 is 10. So the red button is 10. Finally, we're going to get to the value of the yellow display. Press 5 valid inputs. And we know we're at something 3. Now we are going to subtract the value of red and blue, then add the value of red and blue. And now we know we're at 63. So 63 minus the yellow button's value is going to be the new display. The yellow button's value is 4. Now we're going to start putting in our numbers. 10 is the big button, so we're going to press it first. And then we're going to start setting the values of the other buttons. This is done. Let's move on to the green button. This is done. Move on to the yellow button. Now all but the yellow button is done. Now we need 2 buffer inputs to get the yellow button to 4. We're going to take one off the buffer inputs. And now we have 5, 3, 10, 4. And once we press the middle button again, that is a solved module. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and have a nice day.